Hello, and welcome to this segment of Loving Life. I'm Charlie Silva, board-certified hypnotist and certified professional life coach. I've helped many people take back control of their life and achieve their goals by asking the following question. Loving life, are you loving yours? If so, wonderful. If not, why not? If there's something that's stopping you from loving your life, what is it? And let's find ways to overcome it. If you missed any previous segments of Loving Life, you can watch them online at the MTN18 website, mtn18.com. Now, viewers of Loving Life know that one of my favorite websites filled with wonderful, empowering information is www.zenhabits.net, created by Leo Babauta. Many of Leo's blogs resonate deeply with me. It seems that in many instances, he and I are on the same wavelength when we're dealing with the challenges and opportunities presented by life. In this segment of Loving Life, we'll look at what Leo has experienced regarding the inner child all of us has within us, and how the thoughts of our inner child can, in many cases, make life challenging for us as adults. As I've explained in previous segments of Loving Life, our inner child is nothing more than our subconscious programming. Research studies have shown that by the time a child is around 7, that child has been programmed to basically be the type of person he or she will be as an adult. Now imagine that. By the time we're 7 years old, most of our beliefs and attitudes are formed. Our programming is in place. By the time we're 7, our young minds are struggling to discover how this whole world works and our place in it. We then spend the rest of our lives perceiving and actually looking for situations and events that support those exact beliefs and attitudes. Situations and events that reinforce our programming. Now, anything that's similar to or reinforces those beliefs and attitudes, we tend to accept with no question. On the other hand, anything that questions the legitimacy of those beliefs and attitudes, even in the slightest way, we tend to strenuously oppose or completely reject. And we do so usually without any investigation into the possibility that our beliefs and attitudes, our programming, may not be in our best interest now that we are adults. As Leo notes, and I can certainly relate to this, it took him a long time to figure out why he and so many others have difficulties changing habits and making lasting changes in our lives. You see, it all comes down to the voice of a little child, and that child lives within each of us. This is the voice that stops us from making lasting changes. This is the voice that says it's okay to have those pastries, those French fries, that fried chicken. Life should be pleasurable. This is the same voice that says it's okay to skip out on exercise because exercise is uncomfortable and not fun, and you'd rather be on Facebook or playing video games or watching TV. This is the same voice that causes you to procrastinate when you're facing a difficult task. It causes you to skip working on that project at work, or skip studying for the exam at school, because you'd rather be doing something easier. This is the voice that keeps you from starting your own business or pursuing the job you always wanted, because you're afraid of failure. It's the voice that convinces you to give up when things are hard. It keeps you from meeting the love of your life because you don't want to go through the potential discomfort of meeting new people. It keeps you from keeping the love of your life because being honest with them may be scary. It keeps you from doing so many things that you, as an adult, would truly like to do. Now, this voice isn't you now. It's a little child inside you. It's the younger version of you, perhaps when you were 5 or 6 or 7. This is the child that you were when you learned all your thinking habits, when you were being programmed by all the people around you. This little child, this younger you, doesn't like things that are uncomfortable or scary or difficult. What 7-year-old does? This little child likes things that are comfortable and safe and pleasurable. Who could blame a 7-year-old for being like that? But you're not 7 years old anymore, and yet your life is run by this 7-year-old within you. My life was for many years, and sometimes still is when I'm not aware of what's going on. To be the person you, as an adult, desire to be, you need to be aware and notice that this 7-year-old child is still trying to tell you what to do. But you don't need to listen to the 7-year-old. You don't need to obey the 7-year-old. You don't need to believe its rationalizations. Now, I describe the process of taking back control of your life and being the person you, as an adult, desire to be, as being the most difficult, easy thing to do. You can take back control from your 7-year-old self. You can endure difficulty. You can learn to be okay with discomfort. You can face fear. You can be the person you truly desire to be, and hypnosis is a wonderful tool to help you. Now, it may initially be difficult to stop listening to your 7-year-old self, but it actually becomes easier and easier each time you do stop listening. Will the 7-year-old voice ever stop completely? Well, for the over 20 years that I've been practicing hypnosis, I still hear the 7-year-old voice there, wanting to be comfortable and safe and not do anything different in my life. But because I'm aware of it, I can choose to ignore it. And here's an example of how I choose to ignore it. A few mornings ago, I didn't feel like doing anything. I found it challenging to motivate myself to do anything important, which is a rare thing for me. For some reason, I just felt a lack of energy to move forward. I started to doubt myself and wonder whether anything I do is worthwhile. I sat in my chair experiencing this really negative feeling and wondered how to get out of it. Should I just forget about today? Should I just give up what I do because I may not be as good as I thought I was? Now, that was definitely what I was considering. But I knew this feeling was due to that 7-year-old voice within me, and so I thought about possible solutions. And they worked. Little ways of thinking that actually silence the 7-year-old voice and have a real positive effect on my current reality. Now, as suggested by Leo, here's what I did that worked, and it might help you if these feelings ever come up. I stopped being so self-centered. I think we all have the tendency to put ourselves at the center of the universe and see everything from the viewpoint of how it affects us. This can have all kinds of negative effects, from feeling sorry for ourselves when things aren't going exactly as we'd like, to doubting ourselves when we aren't perfect. So instead of worrying so much about myself, I started thinking about other people I might help. Finding small ways to help others gets me out of my self-centered thinking, and then I'm not wallowing in self-pity anymore. Thinking about others instead of myself helps solve self-doubt and self-pity. And I also loosened my identity. We all have this picture of ourselves, this idea of what kind of person we are. My identity of myself as someone who is motivated and productive and has good ideas and so forth, this was getting in the way this morning. When I wasn't productive, it made me despair because then I was worried I wasn't who I thought I was. My solution was to realize that I'm not just one thing. I'm not always productive. Most times I am, but sometimes I'm lazy. I'm not always motivated. Most times I am, but other times I don't feel like working. I don't always have good ideas. I make mistakes. I am less than perfect. And that is perfectly okay. And I remembered that this day counts. I only have so many days left on Earth. I don't know how many that is, but I do know it's a limited number. I know that each one of those limited days is a gift, a blessing, a miracle. And that squandering this miracle is a horrible lack of appreciation for what I've been given. And so I reminded myself that this day counts, that I should do something with it. Now, that doesn't mean I need to work myself into the ground, but I should do something worthwhile. Sometimes taking a break to nourish yourself is a worthwhile activity because that allows you to do other worthwhile things. But just sitting around in self-pity isn't helpful. So I got up and did something. I created movement. I know it can be challenging to get moving when you're stuck. This is how I felt in 1992 when I felt I couldn't change any of my negative habits and I was feeling a tremendous amount of stress. It was really challenging to motivate myself when I didn't think I would succeed, when I felt horrible about myself. But I took one small step, a step I had never taken before, and it felt great. I took my friend's advice and scheduled my very first hypnosis session. Now, that first session showed me that I can choose to move towards being in control of my life. That all the stuff going on around me was truly out of my control. So why feel stressed about it? Over the years, step by step, my inner peace has grown. So that's what I did a few mornings ago when I was feeling like I didn't want to do anything. I took the smallest possible step. Just opening up a document, just starting a list, just getting out a notebook. These are so small as to be insignificant, and yet so easy as to be possible. And it showed me the next step was possible, and the next. I began feeling better because I took those steps. Now I know some of you feel the same way from time to time, maybe more often than you'd like to admit. That's okay, we all do. We are not machines, perfectly oiled and constantly charged up and ready to fire on all cylinders. We are human, which means we falter, we doubt, we feel pain. And this too shall pass. Now be sure to check my website for upcoming Take Back Control of Your Life workshops. The workshops are free of charge. If you have goals you'd like to achieve but have been unable to do so, attending one of my workshops may be all you need to take back control of your life. Well, I'm sure I've given you some things, positive things to think about. Send any questions or comments you have to me at charlie@mtn18.com, and I'll answer them in future segments of Loving Life. I'm Charlie Silva, and I'm asking you, loving life, are you loving yours? If so, wonderful. If not, why not? If there's something that is stopping you from loving your life, what is it? And let's find ways to overcome it. Always remember that you are awesome. Have a wonderful day filled with love and gratitude.